So I just wanted to share a little bit about kind of some recent events here, in a strange juxtaposition, at least in my mind. We had wonderful teachings on Madhyamaka philosophy for 3.5 days, and also during that time our wonderful little kitty Manjushri passed away. And while this was happening, I was kind of feeling this. Sometimes I'd be sitting in the hall thinking like, wow, what does one have to do with the other? And trying to kind of like, wow, how do these things fit a little bit? And I just remember having that thought some, and been thinking about it since then, mostly because I have this strong sense that, you know, Manjushri has passed away, but this is just the beginning of another journey. And so, you know, how to be helpful for that journey. And I noticed when he was in the process of dying that at least my strongest sense was that surrounding him with a feeling of love, a really just gentle love, was very helpful. And so then I'd go from that and I'd go into the hall and hear about all this philosophy, and my mind would kind of go, and I kind of feel like there is a meeting ground of these two, and it's important to find that, or what would be the point? I mean, in one sense you can, you know, the Buddha taught all these philosophies, but when you look at what he was actually doing when he was under the Bodhi tree, when he was having to defeat things, they always tell the story about that he generated metta, or loving kindness. But in order to probably generate the type of loving kindness that he had, I think it was the philosophies that might have gotten him, you know, the integrating of a way of thinking and then practicing and then being that would dismantle the ego and the self in order to actually have this kind of powerful loving kindness that could withstand any kind of advances, because they always give the imagery of, you know, these beautiful dancing girls or whatever it was, beautiful women, and you let that one go, and then the armies and the, you know, all kinds of things coming at you, and then try to keep your mind in a place of love. And so I think that although it felt at some moments to me as like kind of things that, wow, what does one have to do with another? I think they actually have a lot to do with another in the sense of if we can keep them tied together. And even in a more, something that we've thought about, I think, and talked about before here a lot, is how at least in our country, I think there's a strong recognition of a certain kind of compassion. And at least for many decades, the United States was actually known for that in certain ways. I don't know about the covert operations, but some of the more overt operations were things that were really based on helping people in need. And but then there's this sense of the problems that come with these things. And I think that this is another thing where, like, having compassion without wisdom usually leads to problems. And so I think that these things aren't necessarily, you know, things that aren't related to each other, but just are ways of trying to deepen our understanding of all of these things that may seem unrelated, to see how one helps the other out and actually supports each other. So that's what I took from part of this week.